Have you ever sent off a proposal or prices to a potential client and then crickets? Maybe you send out a quote and again, you don't hear a reply from your potential client. In today's episode of the podcast, I'm going to be talking about how you can make sure that you hear back from your client, ideally with a yes, but at least one way or the other. We'll be diving into the mindset around the art of detachment when it comes to your client proposals. Before I dive into this episode, I wanted to let you know about the Business Breakthrough Roadshow that is coming to big cities here in Australia. I'm going to be going to Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Adelaide, and Perth to talk about how you can actually create a big breakthrough in your business in the year 2025. At this live roadshow, I'm going to show you how you can look objectively at your business model, your messaging, your strategy, and of course, your mindset to really help to scale your business profit. These live workshops will be a ton of fun. I know this sounds weird, but I'm weirdly funnier in real life than I am on the podcast. People always tell me when I'm presenting, I'm much funnier, but I know these days will be a ton of fun. And these workshops are designed to get you inspired, fired up, and to leave with a game plan of how you can rapidly grow your business in 2025. So there'll be a link in the show notes for today's episode. Go and click on it, sign up. It's only 49 Australian dollars. And I really look forward to the opportunity to meet you in real life and, of course, to help you with your business. Now, the reason I wanted to start with that is because what we're talking about in today's episode of the podcast is actually something I'm going to be going deeper into live at the Business Breakthrough Roadshow. So I'll actually be spending some time at the roadshow talking about the practical side of what we're diving into today. So we're talking about the practical ways that you can get a yes from your clients rather than being ghosted. But in today's episode of the podcast, I really want to talk about the mindset of waiting, of hearing back from clients, because really, like most things in business, mindset is like 90% of the battle. So let's talk about what usually unfolds when you are looking to work with a new client on a new project, when you send off a proposal or your pricing. Someone who works with a lot of creatives, graphic designers, social media managers, etc. Usually what happens is that someone will reach out and you then have a conversation. You might do a Zoom call and then you will say, I'm going to send you a proposal or I'll send through the pricing. So you've had the conversation, you pull together the proposal, push send, and then you sit and wait. Now, perhaps when you do that, the client receives it, immediately the potential client pays, you lock it in, and full steam ahead. Now, if that happens to you every single time that you send off your pricing or proposal, hats off to you, that's fantastic. Although, if this happens to you every single time, I'd argue that potentially your prices are too low. So I'm talking specifically here about if you haven't discussed price in your initial conversation, because a lot of the clients that I work with, they cannot provide a price on the phone. Something like social media management, they go, well, I want this, but I also want you to film the content. So you've got to pull together a tailored proposal, or a web developer. You're actually going to need to step back and work out, oh my gosh, how big is this project? How much time is it going to take? You can't just give them a price on that initial call. So that's who I'm talking about here. Now, if your clients immediately pay all the time, every time, like I said, I suggest that might mean that your prices are too low, but if that's you, great, lucky for you. If that isn't the case, which I imagine it is for the majority of you listening, is that usually what happens is that you send it off and you wait and you enter what I call the limbo period. This is the time where you are just hovering in uncertainty. You're sitting around wondering, will they come back and say yes? Will they come back and say no? Are they even going to reply to me? So, like I said earlier, today we're going to focus on the mindset side, not the practical strategies of how you can shift this, but how you can actually shift what's going on in your head during limbo period. So, and this is based on, I've worked with hundreds of clients over the past 9 years. So this is based on what I think usually is going on. You're sitting, you're waiting, and you start second guessing yourself. Actually, this just reminds me, I did a really funny reel about this. So I'm going to pop the link into this in the show notes if you want to go and check out that reel and have a bit of a giggle at me. But usually you start second guessing yourself. Now, the first thing that I want you to do is I want you to start consciously noticing what you are thinking or what's going on in your head. And I expect it might be some of the following. So you're sitting, you're waiting, you're thinking, was the pricing right? Did I explain that section enough? Did I explain the inclusions? Should I have charged less? Should I have charged more? And then you start to question, why haven't they replied yet? And your brain starts to go to all kind of crazy places. You think, oh my gosh, they've gone with someone else. Or you sit there and think, oh my gosh, they got the amount and they think that I'm trying to rip them off. That makes me a bad person. Oh my gosh, they probably hate me. Your mind might be in a spin trying to guess what they are thinking. And the truth is, you don't know what they're thinking. They might be thinking the price is too high. They might be thinking the price is right, but I don't know if they're quite the right fit. You don't know. They might not be thinking any of these things. They might have got the proposal through and thought, oh, yeah, cool. But they're so busy that they haven't given it a second guess. And they think, I need to get back to them, but it just slips out of their conscious train of thought. So you don't know what's going on for them, but I just want you to observe and notice what is going on for you. And then what may even happen with those thoughts is that they start to spiral. Your subconscious thinking starts to take it to a totally different place. And I'll give you an example. You might start to think, oh my gosh, if they don't accept this month will only be a $2,000 month. I won't be able to afford rent. Oh my gosh, my whole business is going to go down the drain. I'll have to move back in with my mom. I don't know. Maybe this is where your head starts to go when you haven't heard back. And then you are stuck in this state of paralysis around what action to actually take. You don't know what to do. You might start thinking, do I follow them up? Oh my gosh, is that desperate? Or maybe is it rude if I don't follow them up at all? Start to wonder, how long should I wait? Maybe I should stop thinking about them and just go out and try and find some new clients. But then what if they turn around and say yes? I can't have new clients because I really want to work with this particular client and I don't want to be filling my diary up with other new clients. So, if any of this sounds familiar, if you find yourself starting to create all of these stories, getting stuck in paralysis, how can you actively shift this mindset? Well, the first and foremost thing that I really recommend that you do is have practical strategies to empower yourself. And like I said, I'll be talking about some of these at the Business Breakthrough Roadshow. These are things that you can actually do so that you are in control of your circumstances rather than just sitting around and waiting to hear back. The other thing that you can do is focus on process over outcome. So rather than getting caught up in, oh my gosh, is it a yes or is it a no? You start to really look at your process and reflect. Okay, if I am in this limbo period, what's something that I could do differently next time? Could I have spent a little bit more time around the inclusions? Could I have spent a little bit more time talking about the transformation, what's possible for them? Start to really reflect on the process and let go of the outcome. Another really important thing to do is to keep perspective. Now, when we're in a challenge, a lot of times we can feel like our whole world is crumbling. I don't know if you can relate to this, but maybe you've had an experience where something bad happens and you start to spiral and think, like the example I said earlier, my business is going to shut down. I'm going to go broke. My whole world is going to crumble. I don't know. You might go to a really bad place with all of this. So, one of the things that I like to do if it feels like you're spiraling, if you feel like your whole world is crumbling, do what I call a reality check. How would you talk to someone else who is in this circumstance? So if a friend came to you and they said, a client hasn't responded to me, I think they hate me, I'm gonna have the worst month ever, you'd be like, dude, calm down. It's just one client. It's no big deal. There are billions of people on the planet. Just go out and find some other dreamboat clients that you can work with. So I find really helpful in situations like this is to think about how you would talk to someone else. Because a lot of times we're really awful to ourselves. This is actually a really good life hack to say in any way. If you're looking in the mirror and saying awful things to yourself, think about what you would say to someone else or how someone else would speak to you. Anyway, I digress. So coming back, dude, it's just one client. Don't worry about it. You've got a great business. You're excellent at what you do. There are other people out there. Let it go. And again, this is where having these practical tools really helps because if you feel empowered to be able to attract other clients in this potential client's place, you're not going to be spiraling to a really negative place. You're like, it's okay. I know that I can go out there and attract and magnetize and have control of my business. And I'm not at the mercy of any one person coming back to me. So, when you're going through this process, I really want you to think about practicing the beautiful art of detachment. Detachment is where you detach from the outcome, and it is a really powerful manifestation tool. When you are hanging on to something with a really desperate energy, it's a lot less likely to unfold. When you let go of the energetic hold around it, it's a lot more likely that it's going to fall into your lap. And through this process, remember a few things. Firstly, I know isn't personal. I've had to say no to people that I absolutely love and adore, that I really want to work with at some stage in some way, shape, or form. But it just isn't quite the right fit in this particular circumstance, this particular package. And also to remember that every failure, let's call it a failure. I mean, someone saying no to you isn't a failure, but every failure is actually a step closer to success. There is a growth opportunity, there is a learning in this. So frame the situation and say, okay, what can I take away from this circumstance? How could I do things differently? And how can I use this information to be more empowered moving forward? When it comes to everything in business, your mindset really is the bedrock upon which you want to build your house of strategy. Strategy is absolutely essential. It is important, but your mindset is really the foundations upon which you build that house. If you have enjoyed today's episode, drop me a DM. I always love to hear from the listeners. And if you are in Australia, or heck, if you want to travel here, I would love to see you at the Business Breakthrough Roadshow. We'll be talking a ton about mindset and also a lot about practical strategies that you can use to have a breakthrough year in your business in 2025 and make more profit than you have ever made before. The link will be in the show notes for today's episode. Have a fabulous week, and I can't wait to chat to you again on the Clarewood podcast next week.